Welcome back, Quarantimers. Jack from Conductive Music here. And do you know there have been many songs written with only 3 chords? Well, there is a very famous song which just uses 3 chords, and I wonder if you can work out what it is. Fortunately for you, I'm not going to give you a performance of it because of copyright issues. We are today, however, going to be building material from our 3 main chords with a little variation, and we're going to be using it to program a few different types of synthesizer. Let's have a listen to the track that I've been working on in Soundtrap. Now to kick us off, I've started a new piece in Soundtrap by importing some loops. Let's have a little look how we can edit them. I actually want to elongate this section, but I'm not going to do it by dragging loop, which would actually work. I'm going to show you a shortcut that you can do on the computer. So if you hold down Alt or Option, and then you drag it across, it's going to make another copy of itself. Let's chat quickly about how we build a chord. A chord is 3 or more notes played simultaneously, and I recommend today that we start off with any major chord that can be played easily on the white keys of the piano. The arrangement of notes in these chords means that there's always a 1-note gap in between the 3 notes that make up the chord. So if you're using your keyboard to input the chords, please bear this in mind. Your first job is going to be deciding whether you'd like to start on a chord of C, a chord of F, or a chord of G. I think I'm going to start on the chord of F. So what we're going to do next is just making sure we've got our starting notes correct. We've got a V, and if you're looking at the keyboard, an N, and the comma. We're going to go down to the record button, and we're going to click it. Okay, we can click stop. Now I'm just going to adjust the end of this so it's just 1 bar. Using the Option key, I'm going to hold it to duplicate it. Then I'm going to go down to the piano roll. And as you can see here, we've got our first chord. What you're going to do is just going to raise this note, the middle note of the chord, up 1 semitone, which is the smallest degree you can go. So from here to here. So for the music readers amongst you, we have an F chord followed by an F sus chord. Okay, let's have a listen. Next we're going to duplicate this very first chord, so Option or Alt, drag it to the new position and put it down. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to highlight all of these notes, and we're going to drag this lowest note to the highest note on the first chord. Then we're going to duplicate this one again, like the Option or Alt across, and we're going to do the same thing that we did earlier. So the middle note, just up 1 semitone. And for our final chord, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this first one again, and we're going to go down here to the piano roll, and we're going to take this note here, and we're going to move it to this note here. Then we're going to duplicate this. And then this note here, this final one, we're just going to take down 1 semitone. I'm going to duplicate these N2 because I like those and I think it'd be a nice way for us to get our 8 bars. So we have our basic chord structure here, but we're not actually going to be using it with a string section. We're going to use it with a synthesizer. The synthesizer I'm going to use for this is going to be called Popchord, so I think that sound goes pretty well with this. We're going to highlight all of these, and again, Option or Alt, I'm going to drag them down to the synthesizer. We have our notes now around our 3 main chords, but it's lacking any rhythmic variety. So let's take a look at our first chord and see how we can make it more interesting. In the piano roll, we're going to want to zoom in, so let's go down to our little magnifying glass. There we go. So I'm going to highlight all the notes and I'm going to drag them back so that they're a much smaller value. I'm going to just mess around. I'm going to highlight these notes and I'm going to option click to duplicate them and place them sort of random places in the bar. I'm going to do the same thing with these other sections here, and you can join me in a second after I've done that. So on listening back, my favourite part is actually this bit. I think it works really nicely. I want that to actually be at the start, so I'm just going to drag these across to make room. Let's move these here, let's have a listen. I'm going to move these back to where those originally were. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat this section twice. I'm actually going to move those across. So let's hold down Option, it should copy both regions. There we go. We put these to one side. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to use them within this 8 bars, but we might use them later. So I'm just going to increase the tempo slightly. So down here to tempo, I'm going to take it up to about 90. Confirm that, and let's just have a quick listen. So we have our upper rhythmic synth based around our 3 chords and their variants. So let's use the original chords we had to search for a smoother pad style sound of synth voice. So let's go down into instrument. I'm going to click on it and we're going to select pads. So I'm quite happy with this warm pad sound. It was pretty much the one I was looking for. So to get a bass line running through this, I'm going to show you a quick trick. Let's go to add new track, and again we were looking for a synthesizer. I'm going to copy all these parts here, so select and right click and then merge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hold the Option key and we're going to drag it down to the next track. What I'm intending to do here is just to eliminate the upper notes so that I'm left with what could be our bass line. We'll have to listen to it first to see if we like it. To give our bass line a little bit more interest, what we're going to do is go back into our instrument panel here by clicking on it, and we're going to look for rhythmic pad. Let's cycle through those to see if we can find something that suits this music. So the one I've arrived with actually was the one we were using last week, which seems to suit the sort of style of the music. So let's have a quick listen. So there we have the 3 main elements that we could use to build into a bigger track. Let's go back to the track we started with and explore that a little bit more. What I think is going to be really helpful is for us to be able to focus on individual elements. So let's solo the drums, and let's also solo the high synth that we were working on. Let's bring in the sort of pad sound we had. That's a bit higher than we had because I actually inputted a separate bass line. Next I inputted the sort of harp sound. And then a really high synth line with a sort of melody over the very top. And lastly, these brilliant loops which I found just up here as we had earlier, and I typed in, well, you can type in SFX or you can just go to SFX there and it comes up, and all of those samples they were taken from this library and I just imported them as I saw fit. We've come to the end of the tutorial today. Thank you so much for joining me, and please keep a lookout for our future videos. We haven't even begun to look at half of the features in Soundtrap. It's a really great program. Okay, until next time, please take care and stay safe.